Drücker. Ja.
Ich freue mich sehr, Herr Stefan Müller auf unserem
welcome Stefan Müller at the HP Festival. Mr. Müller, thank you so much for taking the time to visit us, and welcome on behalf of
Herr Müller
MHP.
ist CFO von Paul
Müller is
Hartmann.
CFO of Paul
Hartmann ist ein
Hartmann.
führender
It's
Hersteller
a
von
leading
Medizin- und
manufacturer of medical
Pflegelösungen
and care
und
products,
möchte sich fit machen für die Zukunft
wants to
und hat ein
become fit
Programm
for the
namens
future,
Shape
and the
aufgesetzt.
program they set up is called
Ich bin
Shape.
extrem stolz, dass
I'm
wir als
extremely
MHP
proud that we at
Paul Hartmann als
MHP
Partner bei
have
dieser
Paul Hartmann as partner for this
und
business
Einführung von
transformation and introduction of S4
unterstützen
HANA.
Demzufolge freue ich mich riesig auf Ihren
And so I'm
Vortrag, Herr
really
Müller.
looking forward to your presentation. The stage is yours, Mr. Müller. Thank you very much.
Ja, herzlich willkommen.
Welcome.
Von meiner Seite, ich bin sehr impressed.
I'm very impressed at the setup of this festival. It's my first here. And I will first start talking about the digital agenda. Hartmann's digital agenda. Hartmann is a company in Heidenheim. Heidenheim is located, we call it Swabian, Siberia, so it's 1 hour drive from here, approximately. It's very warm here. This really happens in Heidenheim, but we no longer have snow at the moment. So I'm really looking forward to this presentation. I would first like to give you an introduction. I don't want to bore you, but just give you a bit of information about myself. It's always good to know the background, because then it's easier to understand why I see things a certain way. First of all, I grew up in the region of Heidenheim in Aalen. So I do know Heidenheim, just even from times before Hartmann. I studied there at the Dual University in Heidenheim. I did my chartered financial analyst in Abu Dhabi and Singapore, for example. And then I started with asset management first for high network individuals, very rich people, and later in institutional customers, fund management, and then also fund management for mutual funds anyone can purchase. And I was in Munich, London, and then went back to Zeiss, to Oberkochen, where Zeiss is headquartered. That's where I spent 17 years in total at Zeiss, and spent 4 years in the San Francisco Bay Area, in the Silicon Valley. I lived in walking distance to Google, which was really nice when it's about digital topics, because I was able to understand that it's not a bad place to be. I was the CFO of that location back then. I was also responsible for the global business, and then I moved to a different position, but I will talk about that later. And 2 years ago, I switched to Hartmann, to the role that was just described, so a big step from Oberkochen to Heidenheim. So it's 10 to 15 minutes longer drive every day. That's really a challenge. But it's so far, I've been doing great. The roles I've been supporting, well, many finance roles, but also strategy for Zeiss. And I also did mergers and acquisitions of the Zeiss Group, and also Digital Transformation Office. And that was a very inspiring time, I must say. It was the first role that Meditech had, and that in combination with the sunny California left a few impressions on me. I can well remember the time in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I got to know somebody for the first time who was a chief storyteller. So there's also nice and interesting job titles. And after that talk, I knew what a chief storyteller is, because he was really brilliant at telling stories. And it was basically the co-founder of Aldio, and many people work with design thinking. It was one of the two Carey brothers. And that really left a huge impression on me back then, and maybe left its mark on me as well, on the topics that I want to cover. A few words on Hartmann. Hartmann is 200 years old. It's headquartered in Heidenheim, 10,500 employees, 2.3 billion sales. We're mainly active in incontinence care, wound care, but also risk prevention. I will show you a few products later. They're not that digital, but still.
Im Grunde geht es
And it's basically about
unsere Kunden, sei es jetzt
we're looking at the outcomes of our customers, whether it's patients or healthcare providers. We want to improve that outcome. It's really about doing this measurably, and that's what really what the healthcare system needs urgently. These are our non-digital products that we have. To the left, you see Kneipp. That's a brand. You might not know this, but Kneipp is part of Hartmann. I myself, I'm a passionate user of these products. I can just recommend you. If you see that, try it out. I don't hope that you need to try the Molicare product. That's an incontinence product. But be assured that most of you will get that at some point in time. We do have other products as well. We have disinfectants, and I already saw that being used in the mask today, and it's a brand that you know quite well, Sterilium. We also have the wound care system, Cosmopore. And of course, we're all still marked by COVID. We, of course, produce masks and gloves and all the like. So in total, 20,000 different healthcare products. Before I get into that Hartmann world, I would like to give you a few facts about the healthcare system, what the challenges actually that have a big impact on us as well. Demography, I see many young people here today. That's becoming a minority. I'm actually part of the majority already. And demography has a huge impact on the healthcare system. A few figures, and in 2019, 703 million of 65 years and older, and until 2050, this figure is going to double to reach 1.5 billion. Of course, it's nice that we can all get older, but there's several challenges. There's load on the healthcare system. It's enormous. We're still trying to find enough medical personnel and nurses, and it's already difficult today, and it's going to become even worse in the future. There's also a question of financing, so it's always about the money, and that's also a huge challenge. And we can see that here, if you look at this graph, that's the debt of the United States depending on the economic power. The GDP is up there on the graph, and historically speaking, unfortunately, we always got extreme debts when economic downturn turns, when there were wars. We saw the pandemic, of course, here, and that has had an enormous impact on the finance aspect of the health system. And the projection that you can see here is not just an illustration, but it actually assumes that the demographics and the money that this demographics will cost will continue in that development. And it's a huge financial problem for the states as well. This chart applies to the US, but you can basically transfer it to any nation in the world. So the budgets are empty, and that's one problem. And on the other hand, efficiency is getting more and more important. Efficiency meaning, how can I get as many people as possible be taken care of medically? The alternative is that medical care deteriorates, but of course that's not a good alternative. And here digital aspects play a significant role. And we will see a few examples of what we do. Of course, many companies are doing digital enhancements, and that's very important, because otherwise you either see standard of care limitations, question of how high quality the healthcare system will be, or there will be an enormous debt because of all its consequences. That's the overview. That's our strategy one-pager, if you want. It's basically everything in a nutshell. We have inpatient customers, 60% of our business. These are hospitals, senior residences, and so on. And they are really under pressure already today. No one really makes money, especially with hospitals. So we focus a lot on finding digital solutions for hospitals that help those to improve their cost structure. Outpatient means pharmacies. Here, digital always plays plays a role as well, whether it's an online shop. And of course, we want to become a market leader in all our business segments. And how we want to do this? Well, through innovation, through improved cost position, and new digital business models. So we've heard something about shape already. It's an important aspect of our digital agenda. But apart from that, we also have the digital business, the question of what are we going to offer to our customers, and we also have a finance agenda. And you find lots of digital issues there too. That's one of the already available digital solutions that we offer. It's right off the production line, so to say. It's the beautiful system with optical sensors and cameras, and it's a so-called wound scanner. With wound, I'm not talking about scratches, but we might be older, you're lying all day, lying down, and you have unpleasant wounds coming up. That's one example. So what is the problem we try to cover with this solution? Basically, chronic wounds are increasing rapidly, the amount, and also those people who take care of these wounds, they don't, the number of those is not increasing in the same speed. So the healthcare professionals. And what this wound care system can do, well, it looks like a smartphone. You can just take a picture. It's hooked up to the cloud. There's an algorithm. Artificial intelligence is also included. And it's basically just a pattern or sample recognition. You can categorize the wound based on these images, and based on this categorization, you can have the best treatment method made available to you. Of course, the healthcare professionals need to take the decision, but the device supports them significantly. So it does improve the healthcare because it's more reliable and more stable in its assessment, and you can also document what is something which is very important in the healthcare system. So if you have the wrong wound and you're treating the wrong wound, this does happen in reality. And it also helps you to save time and money. Molicare is a product which at first glance is not that digital. It's basically a pad. And it's always about the question of what do we do here? What is the customer's problem and what can we do in order to help? So just imagine you are in a senior residence and you have hundreds of residents in this senior residence, and 25 of those suffer from incontinence. And you are part of the healthcare system, and you need to make sure that the pads are changed regularly, ideally when they're filled up. The difficulty is that you don't have enough time. And the other difficulty is that people who are in this senior residence, they are not the freshest. And if they're just lying there, and especially at night, they wake up all the time when the nurse comes in and checks their pad, whether you need to change it or not. So it's quite inconvenient. And what we have here is basically a sensor you connect it to the pad, and by means of an app that you can see here, you can monitor and set an alert. So you just have to go change the pad when it needs to be done, because when the pad is saturated. It sounds trivial, but it's not in the end. But it gives you new options, such as embedded diagnostics. So what we actually, the fluids that we're losing tell us a lot about the physical condition. It's about personalized medicine. We get the medication that is tailored to our needs. Another example. We'll skip this one because of the timeline, but let's talk about shape. Yeah. Shape Hartmann's application and process ecosystem. If you look at it more closely, it's in the end of the day, we want to move to S/4HANA, just as many companies they need to do. And we want to make use of it for business transformation. We don't want to have the old stuff and just shuffle it over to the S/4HANA. We have been using SAP since 1974. Mr. Hopp even came to Heidenheim back then, and he agreed the contract with us back then. We were customer number 6 back then. So SHAPE is our program, and the pictures just signals that it's a wide array of topics that are being resolved. Let's see what we can get done. And you see this young person, he's still smiling, and he's really fit, and he needs to be fit. So how do we tackle this topic? First of all, we have an exploration phase. That's something we have planned. And this exploration phase set the tracks, basically. We took some time for that. The question was whether we wanted to stick with SAP, and I said, yes, it's quite nice. And B, how we're going to do this. Are we going to have a big bang or several waves, and see what is within the scope, what is not, and so on. Currently, we're in the global design phase. We have defined which topics we're going to tackle, so more than 50. And with the support of MHP, we are working through these issues this year. And in the end, the rough concepts will be completed on the expert side, so we can move closer to the technology. And at the beginning of 2025, we can go live with S4. It's our 6th approach, so we've tried it 5 times. That was before I was here, so it's easy to say that. And in the end, it's coming. It's what we keep using internally because it's important, and that's the main messages. There were some more included, but we still have more time later. Thank you very much for listening. And for those of you, we'll see you in Heidenheim. Thank you very much, Mr. Müller.